All right, so is it recording?
Yes, it's going.
All right, hey guys, this is Captain Scott, Captain Jim. Uh, Once again, welcome to Bout Stern's Captain's Table. This time we're gonna sit down and talk about what it's like to have a holiday living aboard
There we go. With kids.
with kids.
How do you deal with the holidays? And what can you do? What makes them special?
Which holiday would you like to start with?
Let's start early in the year. How about Halloween? And we'll work our way all the way through the end.
Halloween is not at the beginning of the year.
It's earlier than Christmas and New Year and Thanksgiving.
What about Easter?
We can do Easter. We can do Easter, although Easter bunnies don't swim.
No, he doesn't. And it is really, really hard when you're cruising to hide Easter eggs on a boat.
That is true. There's not a lot of room, and they roll around.
I have almost fallen off the deck of my boat chasing an egg going down the side deck. So yeah, it does present challenges when you don't have a big yard, when you don't have a big living room, and
Especially if the kids have been mainstreamed a little bit.
yes,
So if they understand what the holiday's supposed to be, then they really.
Not supposed to be what it could be.
But it could, yeah, exactly. What it could be. Now they're trying to wrap their noodle around. Well, how does the Easter bunny make it to the boat? Or tooth fairy? Well, tooth fairy flies. That's not a problem.
no.
Um,
But I have lost a tooth
it,
in the V-bird.
we could hit the tooth fairy on a tangent. How it comes in, just has to be careful. It doesn't catch its wings on the rig.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
See a tooth fairy hanging up.
Yes.
It's like the elf. We need to put the elf outside one day, stuck in the rigging.
Oh, yeah.
It drives me crazy.
So with Easter, if you're not underway, for the most part, you have a huge yard, at the marina building, that you can hide Easter eggs and stuff like that. But when you are underway, you have to get really, really creative. And one of the things that I like to do, or Steph likes to do, is we'll use the plastic eggs.
Right.
The plastic eggs are a must.
Yep.
Because they just get thrown around, cracked. And then we let the kids use Sharpies and markers and color the plastic eggs.
Yep.
And so that's always.
And if you're on shore, it's usually not difficult to find an Easter egg hunt somewhere close by.
Yeah.
We did it at the marina.
Yeah.
We usually would just take some space up at the marina and hide them throughout.
Right.
And then the kids would go find them.
Yeah.
So Easter's not a difficult one. And then in terms of the commercialized side of Easter.
Yeah.
The religious side of Easter, you really need to find somewhere.
Yeah.
That you can go to. And
yeah.
It's amazing how you can, wherever you are, you can go to any church.
Yeah.
Especially if you're kind of seen as a cruising family and a guest, they really take you in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the smaller towns along the coast that deal with transient boaters that come through.
They're used to it.
Yes.
They're used to it, and they like to bring in new people.
Yeah. Like Oriental. Oriental is such a blessing for cruisers because half the time when you first start out cruising and you're in all these new areas and you got children and you're trying to figure out what am I going to do with my kids for Easter or whatever holiday, and Oriental just kind of sucks you in. Right. and everybody reaches out and does a great job to make sure that the children have a good holiday.
We actually did a Halloween here. We were cruising for 3 years over Halloween. We actually did one here in town and walked around in town with the kids, and it was really nice. Not our best Halloween by a long shot, but it was a real good one. We had one that was on the boat where we couldn't get off. And that was great. That was just great. But the other thing that you can do with holidays, and again, depending on how old your kids are, as long as it's not stuck to something that's a specific date where you're involving other people, they typically don't quite understand the calendar.
Yeah.
So whether it's today or tomorrow or the next day,
Yeah.
that's when it is, and that works out really well. So
Yeah.
if you have to bump it back a day, as long as you're not looking for that Easter egg hunt, then a lot of times you can do that if you're doing your own celebration.
So for my two older kids, Christmas, when they were real little and we were traveling, Christmas fell in January.
Yeah.
And
Falls when it needs to.
And so the upside of it is that we got a lot of things that were on sale. So the kids got a lot of cool gifts that were on sale after Christmas because, you know, stores were overloaded.
Yeah.
And so the kids made out better.
And Santa Claus likes it too because it gives him one less home to go to.
That's right.
And then plus, if he runs out of something, he can go home and replenish and come back for the final run with
Yep.
you.
Yep.
So that works too.
Yeah.
Got to make sure that Santa's good.
So,
but let's not get in. Let's back up to the Halloween. You got a good Halloween. I got a good Halloween, and we'll move to Thanksgiving and Christmas.
okay.
And wrap it up with New Year's.
All right. And can't forget the 4th.
This is true.
Yep. We got 4th of July.
Whether we ought to do that first because that's before.
Yeah. You love Halloween.
Well, we just got a really cool Halloween story. The 4th of July.
4th of July. Where is the best place you spent 4th of July?
Oriental.
Oriental?
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got to be Oriental sitting on the boat where you're just looking straight up at the fireworks.
Yes.
I mean, you know you're there when you see the blast go off, right? And you hear it at the same time.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing the blast and then hearing it because you're, you know, a half a mile away from the fireworks.
Yeah.
And you know you're close when the fragments of the fireworks are falling on your deck.
Yep. Yep.
It's not as we did Annapolis 1 year out on the water.
Mm-hmm.
It was so congested. People
Yeah.
were being bozos on their boats.
Yep.
And they're drinking.
The drunks
drinking.
were out of
Yeah.
control.
It's just
Yeah.
you're more on guard.
Right. And then everybody leaves at the same time. And oh
Yeah.
my goodness, you got to be anchored down well or something because the
Yeah.
wake's going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but here, I mean, you can be at Oriental Harbor and sit at the docks.
Yeah.
And it's still, I mean, it's right there. And
Yeah.
I tell you, Oriental has got to have one of the best little town shows.
Oh,
Mhm.
hands down. Hands down. It's all Oriental's fireworks are all funded by the citizen,
Right.
by the
town.
by the town.
By the community.
And
not the town, the community.
you know, it's the show we had this 4th of July, hands down, beat anywhere up and down the coast.
Right.
Time wise and quality of the fireworks,
Yeah.
just
And
hands
proximity.
down.
Just
Yeah.
because you get it right. Yeah, that's always been so cool.
Yeah.
It does kind of hurt your neck sometimes unless you can lay down.
Well, we laid down this year. We laid down and just they were literally right above our head because the wind was blowing this way and it just they were right.
Yeah.
Could I'd have to be on the rocket to be any closer.
Right. Let's see. July, August, September. Let's get my wife's birthday. Let's get that.
All right.
October.
That's a great holiday, though.
It is.
You ask her, she'll tell you.
October, Halloween.
Halloween. All right, Jim. Tell me your story.
Well, I'll start off with an easy one here in town, and then you can do yours, and I'll hit my Halloween.
Okay.
Good Halloween. Not scary, but just too cool to let you know what happens on a boat. But the Halloween here, we were coming down south, and we had just crossed with some friends of ours that we had cruising with. They were on a trawler, and it's a party of 5, and I didn't know it was them, didn't know where they were. They were coming into a cut. We were going into the cut, and I was like, I don't want that trawler to be in front of me. You know how it is? So I buoyed up. Well, I couldn't pass him, and I couldn't get there in time. So he got in first, and then lo and behold, we realized it was him, and we hooked up and ended up spending the next almost month together. But we anchored in Oriental. Got up, kids put on whatever they had. That's the cool thing. That makes a difference.
Yeah.
Put on whatever they had, and we spent the first Halloween on the boat here in town.
Nice.
We didn't even live here then.
Nice.
So it was just a cruising town for us at that point.
So it's the worst Halloween story, but it's also a cool moment in a bad situation. So this guy buys this boat in Annapolis, and
Oh gosh.
and he wants me to bring it.
This guy.
He wants me to bring it from Annapolis down to Oriental, and Halloween literally fell in the middle of the trip. And so we're coming down the ICW, and I decide to cut through the Dismal.
Right.
And we got duckweed stuck in the intake.
Oh, yeah.
And we got stranded at the south lock of Dismal Swamp. And we went all out that year and bought Sammy this really, really nice Spider-Man costume. And he wore that thing all day. Bridge tenders were just commenting on it, and he had fun all day long. And then we got stuck at South Mills, which there's a nice little town there. And we're in the lock, and there's houses across the street, and one of the guys out in his lawn, and I asked him, I said, "Hey bud, where's a good place to take my son trick or treating?" And he's like, "Oh, no." And I'm like, "What do you mean no?" He's like, "We don't celebrate Halloween around here. There's nobody that does Halloween, and you know, you
Right.
sorry."
Yep.
And I'm looking at my son.
He's all dressed up.
He's all dressed up, and he's like, sorry, bud." And he's like, "I don't like this." He was so mad. And
doesn't do Halloween now.
yeah, yeah. So the guy felt bad, and he actually drove, I don't know how many miles, to the closest Walmart and bought a bunch of candy in a bag and brought it and dropped it off to Sammy, and Sammy made out like a fat rat with all that candy. But it's just it shows the nature of people, and it was really, really nice that he did that. And Sammy had a great day talking to all the bridge tenders along the way, and everyone commenting on his. But to actually go door to door that year
didn't happen.
He was so mad at me.
He didn't let me go for a long time.
It's amazing how you don't ever know how your day's going to start when you're cruising just about any day, but especially the holidays when you're trying to figure out. We were our best one that still sits in my heart. We were leaving the Keys, coming back north on the west coast of Florida, going back towards Marco Island, which is where we used to live. So we were headed back that way, and we were cruising with another family. Had a older girl, and our girls were probably 4 and 5 at this time. Mm-hmm. And they had an older girl that was probably 10. And so we were leaving, and we had talked about Halloween, but we were going to be in Little Shark River, which is like out in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing.
Like being in the Amazon.
Yeah, there's nowhere even close. You just kind of come off the Gulf and go into this creek, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Great anchorage.
Mangroves.
Yeah, mangroves and bugs, but not that time of year, so it wasn't too bad. So anyway, we pull in with this other group, and we'd already talked to the kids, and we'd said, well, it's probably not going to be much because it's just us and this other boat. It's probably not going to be anybody there. And lo and behold, there wasn't. And we pulled in early, probably about 3 or 4 o'clock. Well, wouldn't you know, before sunset, there was another 5 or 6 boats there. And I got on the radio and asked, I said, "Who's going to do Halloween?" And the response back was, "What?" Because it was all couples. Uh-huh. Well, next thing you know, "Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it." And so we went around. There were 5 or 6 boats. It took us almost 2 hours to go through those boats. And Gotta cut this out. It was just so special. But, okay. Seriously, you got to cut that out.
Okay.
It was so special. One boat did face painting. One guy had a ton of movies, and yeah, they kind of select the ones they couldn't go pick one. But they got to go pick what movie they wanted. Somebody else gave them like carrots and whatever. But it was just so special that they stepped up.
Yeah, yeah. That when you're out there and you've been in the elements and you're traveling and you have these moments, they're so special. Not just because it's a special moment, but it's everything that it took to get to that moment.
Right.
And it when you're cruising with family, you 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 can't hide from the family on the boat. It's such a tight space, and everybody starts to get this real strong bond because you're there and you're in the moment, and you've had scary moments and good moments and beautiful sunrises, and it just creates this family bond that you'll never get in the house. You'll never get that in the house.
Well, speaking of that, we had a couple when we came back. We were talking to them, and they said, "Well, how long were you gone?" We said, "Almost 4 years." So, well, what'd you do with your kids? And like, what do you mean? So, well, who babysat?
Yeah.
And Stephanie and I looked at each other and went, nobody. They were like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, we were together. We were together. And there might have been a couple of times where where another kid, we let him play, but it wasn't like we got a babysitter along the way. We didn't need to. It was all part of it. And that's where the Halloween stuff and the things that the boater community is just so special. It is so special.
I put my kids in a sweatshop. They were sewing clothes and making me money so I can cruise.
Yeah.
No, I think we'll be cutting that one out too.
Yeah. All right. Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's always a special one. And how do you do that?
So
Our oven was big enough.
yeah, ours isn't.
We got a big galley. We got a big oven, and we could put a whole turkey in there. Filled up the whole thing. Put a whole turkey in there. And I remember around our salon table, we had 8 adults, and the kids were everywhere on the boat. So we had 8 adults around the table, 2 on each side, and it worked out great. Our table folds up and can accommodate that. And the kids sat on the settees and on the deck and on the stairs. And I think let's see, what was it? 8, 16. We had almost 17, 18 people on the boat for Thanksgiving. And the coolest thing was, it was a potluck. So, we cooked the turkey and a few things, but which is not uncommon, except for the fact that with cruisers, you typically do something, not always, depends on who you're cruising with, but you typically do something a little bit different. In that when you go visit a boat for dinner, you may bring something, but one of the things that you may bring is different is your own plates and forks and stuff like that. Because one, the boat may not have enough for a whole nother set, or you don't want them to use their water and that sort of thing. So everybody brought a dish, but they also brought their own plates and flatware that they wanted to eat with too. So that was real special. But just, again, Thanksgiving turns into whoever's around jumps in and eats.
So I think one of my greatest Thanksgiving stories is I was in Tarpon Springs, Florida, and I was on my boat, and I was with my ex-wife at the time and my 2 older kids, and they were probably 4 and 6, And that year for Thanksgiving, we always, because my shredder was so big, you know, all the little boards would end up
Right.
piling at my boat. And I had a convection oven on that boat, and I can do a full bird on that boat. And so we did Thanksgiving dinner, and there's a guy that showed up on the transient slip the night before, and he was an older gentleman, probably in his 70s, and by himself. So I walked down and I asked him if he would please come join us for Thanksgiving. And we were sitting there eating the meal, and his name was John, and he started crying. And I asked him, what's going on? And he said that his wife had passed away probably 10 years before that, and that ever since then, all he does is just deliver boats, and he doesn't have any family, and it was the first Thanksgiving that he actually celebrated with other people since his wife died.
Wow.
And it really hit him, and he was very grateful.
Yeah.
And it was a special moment, so that was probably one of my greatest Thanksgivings. Just for a day, he felt like he had a family.
Yeah.
It was really awesome.
Holidays are emotional enough.
Yes.
And like you said, when you put them on a boat, the emotions and the family and the camaraderie and all of that is so much more special and so much more raw.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. What was your favorite Thanksgiving?
It's our producer.
Yeah.
You'll meet her later.
No, Christmas is always my favorite on the boat. Because it's just something different. You have to get inventive with what we're doing with the tree. And we have to figure out when it's a 30-foot boat, 36-foot boat, and where in the heck are we stuffing an elf every day for 25 days?
Huh?
And
What kind of presents do you get?
yeah.
Oh my goodness, the tough ones are what kind of presents do you get from other people?
Yes.
So we were in Marco Island, and my parents came down to visit, and they brought Christmas presents. Well, we didn't realize, but we go pick them up in the dinghy, and next thing you know, we're bringing them back, and the dinghy's full. I mean, full of stuff. Now, granted, they were grandparents, and the girls were, again, 4 and 5, so they really wanted to do stuff, which was great. Well, one of the things that they brought was a box. It was about, it's a big box. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what can that be that we can use on the boat? Well, inside the box was a whole bunch of stuff folded up in pieces. It was I think it was actually 5-room dollhouse. Walls and ceilings and box and furniture. So this box that I thought was big turned into, each room was a foot.
Yeah.
So it's 5 cubic feet of dollhouse. You think if you're not on a boat, you don't think that that's too bad, but there's not too many places that you can put 5 cubic feet.
I don't have 5 cubic feet of floor space anywhere.
Right. So we did have a spot, and we packed it up, and we kept it, and it was used as a good dollhouse, but that was something that was special. I still remember that.
Hayden had when he was walking, he was given one of those, remember that F-150 looking like walker? This thing was massive. And thankfully we were living in the Trojan at the time, so I mean it had a little more floor space, but not much. So that poor little boy would walk 2 steps.
Yeah.
He couldn't go very far, but he had a walker.
Right. He had a walker.
Well, he learned how to do a 3-point turn real good. We'll see if it transfers over when he turns 16.
Oh my god.
We were out, and it was Christmas Day, and the girls were concerned that Santa couldn't find us because we were moving.
Mhm.
And that's always a big one. It's one thing, and then the next one, well, there's no chimney. How does he get in the boat? All those kinds of things. And um, we went through and had Christmas, and one of the things that, mind you, when the kids live on a boat, the stuff that they want is different too.
Mhm.
I have no clue why, but one of the girls wanted an ironing board. We don't iron clothes. I never quite understood where that came from. I'm pretty sure it was Alexis because she wanted a rake.
No, we don't iron clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for pointing that out.
But I know we went to I'll back up. I'll get back to this for a minute. But so, long story short, it was Christmas morning, and their ironing board wasn't there. Well, we got no place to hide an ironing board in the boat. So we're trying to figure out how to do all that. So we left, but we had gotten one of the other cruisers around to put it on the boom. So when we left and came back, lo and behold, there was her ironing board sitting on the boom, and she was so excited.
Yes.
That was special. About Christmas trees. Did you have a Christmas tree on the boat?
We do keep a Christmas.
We do. We've had Christmas trees are have been the main out of all the holidays. Christmas and that darn Christmas tree. The first couple years we had a little micro
12-inch tree.
Yeah, half the size of this, and then we switched boats, and the next boat had a huge bulkhead. So we took the garland, and we took those peel and stick hangers, and we roped it back and forth like that, and ran the lights through it, and we did that for several years, and the kids love it. And
even Hayden was mad we didn't get to do it this.
Yeah.
He wanted it again.
Yeah. And this year we got Charlie Brown Christmas dinner. But Christmas trees. Now, when I had my shucker, I had a galley table in the shucker that would drop down for a bed. But when it was up, I've sat 8 grown adults playing poker at that table.
Right.
So I took the table and I lowered it all the way down and put up an artificial tree, and the tree poked through the hatch. And I had to take a tarp and cut it down and form like a little bag over top, so that way if it rained, it wouldn't go inside the boat. But yeah, if you walk by my boat, you seen this blue tarp sticking up there. But when you walked in the boat, you had 2 feet of tree sticking through this big hatch.
We're in Miami on our way to the Bahamas, and it was right just before Christmas. Mm-hmm. And we were trying to figure out, we were actually going over with some friends. Lo and behold, when you travel with friends, you always tell them where and when to meet you, but not the same time or place. And these guys were like, you know what, we'll meet you here, and if the weather's good, we're going to jump to the Bahamas. And they showed up on Christmas Eve, and darn if it wasn't beautiful the next day, and off we went. Mm-hmm. Well, before that, we were getting ready for Christmas, and we had decorated the tree. We put ribbon around the mast, or decorated the boat, ribbon around the mast, and we were looking for a tree. On the other side of our salon table, or main salon, opposite the table, we had a good bit of space. And so we hop in the walker and the stroller, and we take off, and we're going and going and going and going, and we're determined to find a tree, like a real tree. And sure enough, we find a place that's selling trees. The Christmas tree, we're determined to get a Christmas tree. So we walked and walked and walked. And of course, oh, it's just down there. Well, just down there in the car is a couple of minutes. It's a couple, maybe an hour walk.
Just around the corner.
So we're sitting there, we're looking at all these trees. And of course, the girls are like picking out a tree and wanting to do that. And Stephanie and I are thinking, how are we going to get this tree back to the boat? Well, again, all you got to do is kind of put out there where you are and what's going on. It's amazing how people want to help.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, this guy says, "Oh, I got a truck. I'll take it." So sure enough, we pick out this tree, 6-foot tree. We've got 6'4" headroom in the boat, and big full tree. And we get that normal tree stand, a whole shooting match. We get the boat, we get it down in the boat, and you take it in stump first, so that way it, so it works. We set up this tree. Everything's great, and we decorate it, the whole shooting match with, with boat stuff and things like that. Well, mind you, we're going the next day to the Bahamas. So what do you do with a Christmas tree on Christmas Day? Leave it up. Plenty of room.
Yeah.
We're sailing on. We come back later on. That tree had slid all over the floor. It never fell over. Never fell over. But you know what a Christmas tree does later on that even makes it better? Dual usage. It's a killer starter for a bonfire.
Yes.
So it was about a week later. We were in the Bahamas and we were on the beach, and we were like, well, it makes good structure for fish,
Right.
But we didn't want to get rid of any weights or anything like that or tie big rocks to it. We took it to the side. Oh my goodness! You took a lighter to that thing. Woof, it went up in no time and started our fire.
Yeah.
But that tree in the it was neat. It'd slide all over the place. It's where it's not going. And we did take the water out, so it didn't spill water everywhere. We took the water out before we went sailing.
There's I don't think of the name of the island. But every year after Christmas, bunch of power boaters take all their Christmas trees down there in the Keys, and they do the bonfire.
Right.
With Christmas trees.
It goes up.
Yeah. Trying to think of all the things I've lost in my lifetime, I miss my mind the most. Trying to think of the name of that island.
Some island doesn't make it.
So my Christmas miracle. One year, we had a bunch of big expenses happen on the boat, vehicles, and it was back to back the whole month of December.
Right.
And so Christmas Day, we didn't have nothing for the kids. And the grandparents they always, went way overboard for the kids. So, that was fine. So the kids were going to have a Christmas. There wasn't nothing from us and there wasn't nothing from Santa. So Christmas morning, I get up and the kids have already been up, bouncing off the walls, since the rooster crowed. And so I got up and I opened up my companionway, and in the cockpit was all these gifts. And it was really, really cool because the wrapping paper was so old it was brittle. And it was all old toys, a bunch of wooden made toys, and things that were hand painted, and it was really, really cool. And that was my Christmas miracle year. It was really awesome. We were at a marina that there was only 3 liveaboards there. The rest of the marina was empty. It was Christmas time, and so I don't know where it came from, and it was.
It's that boating community.
Yeah.
It's a boating community.
Yeah, and What's your favorite Christmas?
We had just bought in the Trojan, and Santa here, Santa comes here and does his rounds on the fire truck. And
That's
such.
right. Santa, he comes around the whole town,
Yeah.
multiple nights.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Rod drives around town on the fire truck here.
So he was doing that, and we just got in the boat. Hayden was, gosh, maybe a year old at the time, and I don't know why we didn't meet him, but for whatever reason, Santa got off the engine that year.
Yeah.
And was walking through Whitaker Point and ended up coming to our boat so he can say hi to the boys. Somebody had told him the boys were there.
Yeah. Santa Claus in Oriental is a whole different.
Yeah.
Santa Claus, this must be his like seasonal house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you say that when we first moved to town, girls were 6 and 7, and we'd been on the boat, so they weren't fully ingrained into the real world. We were still off the beaten path a little bit. And Christmas comes along, and they write a letter to Santa. And I went to the counter, and I said, "This is a letter for Santa. Do I need to put a stamp on it?" She said, "Of course you do." And I said, "Okay,
fair enough.
We'll go there." So I did. I put the stamp on it. She said, "Great." Well, wouldn't you know, there's a letter in our post office box the next day from Santa.
Yeah.
And it said, it said, Nicole and Alexis, we're so glad you're in town now, and yada, 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 and talked about it. And the next year, Alexis hadn't written a letter yet. Nicole did, but Alexis did. She wanted a kayak. She wasn't sure about all that and how it, because it was big and all that kind of stuff. And finally, I realized that. It's like, Alexis, you need to write a letter. Well, she did. Same process. Well, the next day, which was Christmas Eve, was a letter. Am I kidding? And it says, "Wow, Alexis, I was getting concerned that I didn't think you were going to write a letter to me this year. Said it's really late, but I'll do what I can to get that on my slate."
Aww.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's Christmas in Oriental.
Yeah, yeah. So that year, that she was talking about when we had that Trojan powerboat, Whitaker Point wasn't even a stop on the route.
Yeah.
And Santa found out that the kids were over there, and he drove that whole parade procession out of its way, went over there to Whitaker Point, got off the fire engine, came all the way down to our boat, just so that way the kids.
Yeah, he had his elves and everything.
Yeah, he had everybody.
Yeah. Now, if you guys don't know, like I said, it's probably a week before. It's sometime in December. It's coming up.
I think it's the 17th.
And it's on Santa's schedule, on his big master schedule. He comes here and drives around on a fire truck multiple nights to hit all the different neighborhoods. And it's the coolest thing, because you hear this fire truck, and if you're not quite sure what's going on, what is that? And it's, oh, that's Santa.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And sure enough.
Yeah.
Yep. It's on his schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I remember the first year we were in Oriental, and I heard that from the boat. You can hear it all over town.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what in the heck is going on? So eventually, I'm like, man, there's something tragic going on. So I went, I got in my truck, and I'm driving, and I'm trying to find out, and it kept moving. I'm like, what in the heck? And finally, I get down one of these little side streets, and there was Santa. So I safely tracked down Santa. So, and the fire department that we have here in Oriental, it's got a huge siren alarm.
Siren.
Yeah.
And so
volunteer fire department call.
Yeah, it sounds like an air raid back in
World War II.
That's what it is. Yeah, we have a good time with that. For people visiting.
Were you talking about the air raids from World War II?
Yeah, the air raids. Well, that plays right into air raids and loud noises, and next holiday's New Year's Eve.
Yes.
The loudest of all.
New Year's Eve is always fun. I think my favorite New Year's Eve on the boat is the same year that we had the Christmas tree sliding everywhere and the big bonfire with Christmas tree, we ended up in Nassau for Junkanoo. And I tell you what,
Tell them what that is.
Junkanoo it's an annual celebration, and those guys prepare for that all year long.
Yes.
And they have these massive costumes and headdresses where, I mean, I've got a picture, and it takes up the whole frame, and the guy's head is, a little teeny tiny spot. So it may be an 8 to 10 feet of the headdress.
Yeah.
And noisy. Oh my gosh, they've got drums and banging stuff, and I mean your heart thumps when you're walking down the street down there. And Nassau is just massive. We were there with the kids, and I mean it was wall to wall people. And they have communities. Each community does a set, and they grade it, and it's a contest and the whole bit. And it was interesting because I mean literally we were wall to wall, and noisy and thumping, and just the energy was just crazy. And next thing you know, this fight breaks out, and this circle forms, and one of the guys that was outside the circle, he's looking around and he sees us, and he's like, and he calms everybody down, and he says, let's take care of our visitors. And so it was interesting how the Bahamians are just such special people, and it's all about family and taking care of each other and watching out for each other in the community there. And he saw us and obviously realized that we weren't used to anything like that, but very quickly jumped in to help us. And we did not feel unsafe except for that one little stint, but other than that, we really didn't feel unsafe at all. And it was just a big, huge crowd. It was just, I still remember, it's one of the few things, but one of the pictures that we really keep was Junkanoo. Yeah. And they do it in the smaller islands too.
Yeah. St. Thomas, Puerto Rico, Nassau.
A lot of islands.
Back during the 90s was totally different than what it is right now. That era, I am so sad to say, is not there anymore. It's still a great, wonderful place to go visit, but I miss the Bahamas that I first went to. Which has also led me to understanding how great it is just traveling up and down our coast.
Yeah.
There's so many places, down down in the Florida Keys where it's like the Bahamas, bathtub color water, blah, blah, blah. And going up the East Coast, so many places are so rich in history,
And the communities that you see.
Yeah.
Again, it's all about the cruising community.
Yeah.
And if you get into the small towns where a lot of the people were cruisers, that mentality's still there.
Yeah.
And Oriental is like that.
Yeah.
Bath is like that.
Washington,
Bellhaven, Elizabeth City.
Yeah.
All up and down, really all on the East Coast, almost of North Carolina. South Carolina's good.
Yeah.
Especially the smaller towns.
Yeah.
You get up and around the Rappahannock and the Eastern Shore. Oh my goodness. The Eastern Shore is very special.
Yeah. It's a wonderful lifestyle.
The holidays
especially
are
during
good.
the holidays.
They're different.
Yeah.
But every day is different too.
Yeah.
And living out there is different.
Yeah.
But holidays they're special, and you just never quite know what they're going to look like.
Now,
And they stick with you. As you guys can see.
Yeah.
The emotion sticks with you.
Yeah. Now you're gearing up to start doing some cruising again.
Oh, we're always thinking about it.
Yeah.
Always thinking about it. We're getting the boat ready to go.
Getting the boat ready to go.
Yeah.
So on next week's episode, we're going to take a field trip, and we'll show you
Green Dolphin.
And we're excited.
Yeah, we're excited. We'll show you some probably some still pictures of what she used to look like way back, and then
Yep.
I think you can do that, and then
Oh,
factor in some other pictures of what she looked like when she was torn apart, and then you can see what she looks like now, and then hopefully by late spring you'll see what she looks like again. And
Yep.
then
Yep.
if we
We're
do
gonna
take off, we're looking at maybe doing something at least for the next winter.
Yeah.
Maybe not long term, but
Yeah.
we're not going anywhere, so don't think that. You know, we're not shutting any
We're just
businesses
stretching
down.
feelers.
Nobody's going anywhere, but
Yep.
we can take some time.
Yep. Yep. So we're gonna, over the next couple months, we'll show you the progress that we're making on that boat, and some of the triumphs and some of the heartbreaks along the way. And we got another project boat that we're working on, 41-foot Lord Nelson.
Yep.
And we'll introduce you to John, the owner of that boat, and we'll get him to tell some stories.
Maybe.
Short stories.
Yes.
So, anything else?
I think that's it. I think
All
this
right.
is where we say subscribe, like,
Swipe.
swipe. No. If you like us, subscribe us, tell your friends,
Follow.
Comment.
follow, comment,
Follow.
all the above. You know what to do if you're watching these things. You know what to do.
Do the ABCs to follow me.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. Well, enjoy. Have a Merry Christmas. Although
Merry
we'll
Christmas.
We'll have something out before Christmas, maybe.
No. This should air
This should have this
Friday.
Yeah, so we may have one more out
We'll
before
have one
Christmas.
more.
Yeah, we'll have another one. So early Merry Christmas.
Yes.